Welcome to Growing the Divine. Life is a journey, and the title says it all. These episodes were filmed during times when I was processing. And you will see as you listen that there are definitely things that I changed my mind about the more that I reflected. But that's the point. We're growing the divine. We are seeing exactly how we change and how we grow and how that's better for us. And that's beautiful. Happy hump day, everybody. It's April 26, 2023. It's 2:30, almost 3 o'clock p.m. I'm on my walk. And today the moon is in Cancer. And Mars is in Cancer, which is very fucking moody. A lot of people don't believe in astrology, but if you start to pay attention to certain patterns and things, it makes a lot of sense. So someone I know has been having a hard time mentally, as a lot of people have, and they're living in their first place by themselves, and that could be lonely. So they had a mental health emergency and broke down at work and decided to call the ambulance, so they go to the hospital. Well, at first they tried the suicide hotline or whatever, and that hotline is garbage. Just FYI, there are better places out here that are better trained. Like their bedside manner is better. I don't even think they really properly train the people that pick up those phones. They just go over some shit with them and then just let them run free. So they first called the suicide hotline, and it's so funny because I was just feeling bad for not talking to them. Now, I have been the friend that people can lean on to a certain degree, except for when I was having my own breakdowns. I retreat to myself, and now my health has been getting on a level, situation, basically. And I've been pulling back, checking in every now and again and pulling back, because I'm like, I understand that we're at a point where we need to go within ourselves, reach out if necessary, but really go within ourselves and take care of ourselves. And nobody can do that for us but us. Like, we can reach out for support, like to stable us a little bit, but some people not use them, like drain them. It can be draining, even if they unintentionally do it. It can be very draining for the person that they're reaching out to, which is why you're supposed to have firm boundaries on both sides. But sometimes people can lean on their strong folks, and it becomes a crutch. When they're sitting by themselves, including myself. I realized this in my mid-20s. When they're by themselves, they can't stand it. It's too much. So they run to other people, and then wonder why, when they do have to be by themselves or get by themselves or alone with themselves, they can't handle it. So this person called the suicide hotline, didn't work. And she called the state that they were in. They called the other number. Person asked them some questions, was just like, oh yeah, you need to go to the hospital. Like, straight up, I can't help you, you need to go to the hospital. So of course they were weary, because it's like, hospital, mental hospital, horror stories, getting people to stay past 72 hours, it can be scary. So they were kind of like tiptoeing with the questions, but they got a good therapist. They actually got a good therapist at the hospital. And the lady asked them some questions and was just like, are you, they were like, oh, I'm not happy. And so the person was like, after finding out what they did, their role at work and stuff, they said, do you get accolades? Are you seen for your work at work? And, we're taught to love accolades is not a good thing, or love and attention is not a good thing. It depends. It can be powerful if you own it and know what to do with it. But it could be really dangerous if you're chasing it. And as much as I love this person a lot, been in my life over 20 years, they didn't receive adequate attention, so they chased it and are still very much chasing it. But it's not their fault. It's the fact that they need to be in a new environment. They're outgrowing the environment that they're in. They're outgrowing the mindset that they've had. They can no longer chase things. It's time for them to attract things. Now, granted, it's always been time for them to attract things, but they weren't ready for it. They were always, like myself, I was too at one point, always out there, constantly chasing feelings, people's emotions, this, that, and the third, and wondering why you're depleted because you're chasing. Some people are meant to chase, and they do it naturally. They get all the energy and everything and go back out there and do it again. But some of us are meant to attract, get that good energy, and then take that energy and go out. So like those cars, those toy cars that you pull back and the wheels retract and they just zoom, they just go off. Some of us have to be like that because it protects our energy. It prevents us from being a menace and needy and people pleasing and stuff. And that's also because of trauma. A lot of us have unresolved trauma from our parents. We've been talking about that, and from, school, family, whatever other relationships that we've had in our lives, and it's unresolved. So we're always chasing that high of attention, and looking at other people's charts, I can tell where that comes into play and why, which is why I wish some people would just let me look at their charts, because I'm like, I could pinpoint exactly when and where this started for you and exactly how to fix it. Not even being like I know it all, but just literally patterns. I love looking at patterns. I was never really good at math, but astrology is my zhuzh, go figure. Even though there's some math in astrology. But this person is very addicted to drama. They're Leo. I don't know the rest of their chart. I'm gonna convince them to let me see, to tell me their birth time, because I want to see the rest of their chart. I need to, just for my own amusement, so I could, really see the full picture. But this person is a Leo. They need attention. In sidereal astrology, which is Indian astrology, they are, they could be a Virgo, but they could also be a Cancer. It depends on, in sidereal astrology, it depends on when you were born, like what time and everything else like that. It's not an exact, you can't just assume like you can in Western astrology. It's more of an exact science, essentially. It's more of an exact pinpoint. But they thrive off of attention. And as I've said before, people always hated me because they try to force me into accepting needing attention from other people, and they didn't know what to do when I would literally just say, I don't care. Don't care what they think, don't care what they feel. I don't thrive off of that. I do thrive off of energy, we all do, good energy. But I don't thrive off of that. And that was just naturally me. But I was like, it's so dangerous. I've seen what could happen in my own life when you let somebody have full control over whether they give or take attention. So in order to take back that power, you have to be secure within yourself, which can take a little while. It's different for everyone. But you also have to figure out how to get the best organic energy and accolades for you. So this person is an artist, always has been, just like me. They're a dancer and an actress, and they're a dancer and an actor, and they've done sports and stuff. So they a lot of energy and have always gotten some type of accolades. Even though they didn't really care for sports, they liked the releasing of the energy and they liked the attention. So they did it, and they were good at it. But no, there's one sport that they did really enjoy. But anyway, I digress. They want to model and have always talked about modeling. And I feel like when they're in their element, they get the attention that they deserve. Not the attention that they are hungry for, because that's a difference. But the attention that they deserve. They're in their element. There's things that they're naturally good at. They are being seen without having to, how did I do? Did I do okay? Without having to go out and reach for it and beg for it and ask for it. Because once you start begging for attention, anybody can control you. Speaking from experience, once you start crying for attention, people can just so as quickly take that away from you. And you never want to give somebody that type of power over you, unless that's your thing, because I'm a dominatrix, so and that's your thing. But in real life, if that's not your thing, outside of whatever subspace, slave space, whatever it is that you are in, or maybe you've adopted that in your real life and it works out for you. That's the line. That's the boundary. But if you need more than that, you never want to give people more power over you than what they have to have. So this person is on break because the therapist required them and told them, called their job about it and told them, well, of course with their permission, and said, you're off for the rest of the week. Period. No work. Because you're obviously drained. You are drained. And I love acknowledging that I am a psychic. I no longer need people to acknowledge that I am a psychic. I've had these thoughts and feelings about this person for the last 3 years. There were certain things I would throw out there and be like, maybe you shouldn't be looking for another retail job. I understand you got bills to pay, but maybe you should look for something more creative. Maybe you should start posting more pictures of yourself so that you can get picked up. Because they were trying to do the old way of modeling, like the top model way of modeling. I'm just like, that's not how that works anymore for a lot of places. It's more popular to get discovered on Instagram. You might not want to do it, but that's one way. Another way is you being out and about and somebody may see you, but it has to be you actually putting in that effort. Nobody's going to discover you on your couch. Same goes for me, because I do makeup. I get better attention when I'm seen. And just being myself. That's the thing. You can't. I don't know of any people that try to force themselves to be seen and it ever turns out right. Those people are usually willing to do just about anything, and it usually bites them in the ass. That's been a conversation in the adult entertainment business. Being willing to do anything to be seen and make money, and wondering why you got all types of attention towards you because you were willing to do anything to be seen and make money. At some point, he's saying this, but at some point we are no longer the victims. We do have to hold ourselves accountable for the decisions that we make and the things that we allow. At some point we have to know when to say when for fuck anybody else before our own protection. It's literally for our own protection, because nobody gives a fuck about us as much as we should give a fuck about us. And that's just the truth. We always want to hope for the best or whatever else, but it's just like, listen, pretend that nobody gives a fuck about you. What are you going to do to show yourself that you give a fuck about you, to show yourself that you love you? And so I've been like lightly, because not everybody's ready. Speaking from my experience, I'm someone who has to learn. I'll hear it, but it doesn't settle until I'm ready for it to settle in my mind or my spirit. So I'm like, you deserve better. I'm always telling my friends that, you always deserve better attention, better love, better people around you, better experiences, because I know that they're pure-hearted. So I've been lightly telling, you deserve a better environment. You go from place to place and job to job, not running, but usually it's because the people around them and their bosses and stuff, they see something in them and they don't like it. They feel threatened by it. Even though this person just wants to be accepted. Hold on. Helicopter. So, this person just wants to be accepted. Like, they enjoyed doing the job that they had, and also didn't take shit. Like, they will call things out where it needed to be. Like, if they know somebody was getting bullied or something like that, which of course bigots and bullies don't like that. When you call it, narcissists don't, people with narcissistic traits don't like that when you call them out on the shit that they're actually doing. They want people to kind of cower and hide away from them and not say anything in order to keep their position. So when you know shit is wrong and you know not to fall into that and you stand out naturally, people get threatened. So all they wanted to do was be accepted. And once they, the new spot, it sounded really good. Like they were actually doing pretty well. And then this one person who they had an issue with at another store, I think, comes in. Ironically, that's how their situation works, which let me know years ago that they were not meant to be in the field that they're in, because they always end up, either the person was a manager, or they got promoted to be a manager at their store when they would move. So that let me know that this person was not meant to be in the field that they were in, because their issues were following them. Like they would get there first, and then a few weeks or a few months later, here come the person they had a problem with, and now they're their manager. Which is automatically causing direct issues, because it's like they're their manager, they're in charge of them. So, they would have to even go higher up to be able to do anything, but that's more issues. Which to me, when I see issues like that, even in my own life, that means it's time for me to sit back and figure out what it is that I need to do, or get the fuck. I've quit 8 jobs like that with no problem. As soon as my spirit was like, I need to go, I need to go. I had no backup plan at all. I only had a backup plan once. And those were 2 jobs that I got because I knew 2 people working there. But every single time I'm like, nah, this ain't feeling right with my spirit. I gotta go. Because now I'm starting to feel drained. Now I'm starting to act how I don't want to act. Now I'm starting to react in a way that I don't want to. And it's not doing me or anybody else I'm involved with any good. So I'm just going to remove myself. I'm not being used how I'm supposed to be used or be of service. And I think she's going to get to her I think she's going to get to her breaking point, to the fact of where it's like, I think she's going to get to her breaking point, because it's at the point where now they've been calling out of work, and that's another sign of your spirit just not being able to take it anymore. People see that as a bad thing, but it's only a bad thing for people who want to control folks. People who want complacent people. Businesses and stuff who want somebody to just accept anything, even though their spirit is breaking and they can't take no more. They want them to be a slave. And people who aren't won't be able to take it. The people who can still can't take it, but they're in such denial and need for acceptance in that world, capitalism, that they're willing to shove everything that they're feeling down so far that once it piles up and it can't be shoved down anymore, it springs up like a fucking jack in the box, and it's spilled out onto everybody who don't deserve it because they never dealt with it. So it's like, either you deal with it now or it'll deal with you later. And that's one thing that I've learned. I only been on this planet 30 some odd years. That's the one thing that I've learned. Deal with it now, it's going to deal with you later. That's a guarantee. No, I don't have to deal with it. It's going to manifest itself somewhere, some kind of way. Be it health, mentally, relationships. Well, ain't really that many options. How you respond to people just minding their damn business. So the therapist, who I'm so glad that they got a good therapist, because I've heard some horror stories from people that I know were really bad therapists or doctor's visits. I've experienced bad doctor's visits. And the therapist told them, you have severe depression and anxiety. She asked them, how do you respond when you're out and about? Do you get angry quickly? My friend gets angry very quickly. I'm a Sagittarius. They're a Leo. They're a 10. I'm boiling at a 7 when I'm not myself. Like is that they're 0 to 100 when they're not themselves. So it was like, I never really realized it. It's also the conversation about depression that came up, where a lot of people think depression is just you being sad, and I've tried to explain it to them, but they still have some training. I'll call it training. When you're brought up a certain way and it's not really doing any help, it's for control and denial. They still have some training from their home in childhood to make them think that depression, 1, isn't real, 2, you have to suck it up, and 3, is just being sad. No, you have functional depression, You have seasonal depression. You have depression that makes you not be able to clean up after yourself. You know, it's levels to this shit. And the mind is an enigma. But they learned about that, and I go all around the mulberry bush. If you've been listening so far, you should know that by now. I don't think I ever get straight to the point. That's not how I'm supposed to be. So if that's what you're looking for, don't listen to me. Go somewhere else. Because I don't give a fuck. This is really for me to go on tangents for. And if you listen, thank you. Ooh, daisies. I'm still on my walker. I just see daisies growing on the side. Anyway, see, it's ADHD or ADD. But they thought, they didn't think that depression was actually a real issue or a real thing. And I'm just like, baby, you go from 0 to 100. Somebody looks at you wrong and you going off. That's trauma and anxiety, boo. And I'm like, girl, they're just looking. One, they're dark skinned, very pretty, and they're 6 feet tall. Even if you're in your car, people are going to stare at you. I take it as a compliment. But different issues, different traumas, and bullying when you were younger. So of course it's going to manifest itself in different ways, and people aren't going to be able to handle that. But it's like you gotta deal with that. You getting into arguments and stuff and cussing people out and screaming and your blood pressure going up because you can't handle somebody looking at you. That's an issue there that you need to deal with. Need to. Because it's gonna be one time that somebody looks at you and it sets you off, and you ain't gonna be able to come back from that. But that was not for me to tell her. I've been on the phone with her, like Bluetooth phone, with her in the car, and she just goes off on somebody because they drove past and was looking at them. I'm like, I'm a girl. I'm like, child, you yelling and screaming. One, you in your car, they can't hear you, and two, why are you so bothered that they're looking at you? That's trauma. Cause even if they thought the most heinous shit about you, they're looking and are passing by. You're bothered. There's a sign of something that's going on there that's a lot deeper than you realize. But that was not for me to tell them that. And I hate knowing certain things and not being able to tell people, because I'm like, if you would just listen to me, I could fix all your frustrations, but that's not my responsibility. That's not my job. It's not about me. If someone comes to me, I'll tell them. If they ask a specific question, I'll tell them. But that's not for me. So me pulling back over the last week, because I've been focusing on work and my health, and I didn't pick up the phone when they called, and I didn't feel guilty about it. There's also intuition. Because I didn't pick up the phone, they couldn't tell me about how their week went. They couldn't use me as their therapist, which isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes I will, think about them, and I'll call them, and it would literally be the right moment in time, because it was just like, I just wasn't feeling it this week. So I'm glad that you called. But this time it didn't feel like I needed to pick up the phone or call them. Had I, they may not have gone to the hospital. And that's not always the case. Sometimes you can call, you ain't got to sit for long, whatever. You go with what feels right. But they have always used and reached out to other people as a band-aid and as a mode of security, so that they can be seen, but no work is being done. They still end up feeling the same exact way that they always feel a few days, a week, or whatever later, and it repeats the same cycle. They had this eclipse season, and Mercury retrograde is very much about not repeating the cycle of things that you've been doing for years, doing something different that's going to help you in the long run. Stepping outside of yourself and the things that you've been doing, because wait, what I've been doing for the last few months or years ain't working anymore, or it never worked and I'm just now picking up on it. So what can I do differently? What they did differently is actually went and got some actual help, because even though I'm a psychic and I do know things, sometimes you can't hear certain things from your friends. Sometimes you need an unbiased ear, impartial third party or a partial second party, whatever, to tell you some things. But you have to be willing to hear them. I've been an ear when I was needed to be an ear, when I needed to be an ear, but there was no longer a point for me to be an ear. Now, it got to the tip of the iceberg, and where she did right, she absolutely did right, was to realize that she needed help and was to call someone because she knew she didn't feel right. And she knew what she had been doing was no longer working as a band-aid anymore. And this moon in Cancer is got me very emotional because I'm crying right now. I've literally known this person for 20 years. And I love them so much. And I am so proud of them. And I tell them that all the time when they do things that is in their best interest. I am so proud of them for being able to reach out and do something different because they realize that they're not happy and they're not feeling right, because you know when you're happy, when everything is settled and you're at peace, or you're in an environment you're supposed to be in, you know when you're happy. But sometimes we can get so caught up, and not caught up, life can bury us. Life can be so a lot that we don't recognize when we're happy anymore. And the fact that I think they were, it was yesterday, and they're off during the weekend. So I guess when they went back to work after being off for the weekend, they was like, like their mind and body was just like, I don't like this. I gotta do something. And a lot of people decide not to, or they don't feel like they should. And everybody should. Everybody should be able to reach out and get help. Everybody should be able to love on themselves in a healthy way. Addictions are also going to be coming up over the next few years. I've been working on them. And addictions to work, addictions to making money, addictions to buying things and food. I'm just naming addiction. This is not my addictions. Addictions to drugs and alcohol and every other substances. Mine in particular is definitely food and alcohol I've been working on. And I realized that I don't have to overindulge. So that's been my lesson. I can partake. One thing about fire energy, it's going to burn everything and in excess. So you have to learn how to contain it but not smoke it out. So I love food. I enjoy it a lot. So instead of completely banning myself from some of the things that make me feel good and happy, I partake. Usually during the weekend, because that's when I'm around friends and family and I love to cook and bake. So like one day, and then I get back into the healthy thing and I may mix in some black folks need, I need some sweet. So it's not over, it's not too much. But all of these things are going to be coming up, and the most important theme that's going to be on repeat for the next 10 years, really the next 3, no, actually the next 30, is going to be, one, do you support yourself first? Because that's most important. Do you love yourself? How do you love yourself? It ain't gonna be easy because I go back and forth with it. How do you love yourself? How can you show yourself love? Because those are two different things. It took me a while to understand that. What do you need to feel loved? Ooh, that one, I felt warm saying that one because it just came. What do you need to feel loved? Even if it's because of trauma, because in order to get over, or in order to go to our not most basic self, that doesn't sound enough, but in order to get to our root, we do need to figure out what we need to feel love, even if it's not from a healthy space. because then it helps us to dig deeper into what it is that we really truly need, because some people do operate from a space of trauma and some people will for a very long time. Some people never will stop. Sometimes I feel certain instances where I'm like, that's the old me. You sneaky motherfucker trying to sneak back in. And sometimes I have to sit in it, or maybe even indulge a little bit into what I need to feel love to kind of like give quote unquote the old me. It's still me, but to give me a hug in the most healthy way possible so that I don't fall too far off the deep end. Because you can go from you can go from one headspace to the next and be like, how the fuck where did I take a left turn at? Because I know for a fact that I was good. How the fuck did I get here? And not being self-aware, because that can be dangerous for some people. Some people can be anxious and have really bad anxiety when they're self-aware. But acknowledging those parts of ourselves and not denying them, not being afraid to indulge in them, not being real with ourselves and saying that we need this and we want this. If you want attention, that's not a bad thing. Where it becomes dangerous and self-harm is when you go out and look for that attention by any means necessary, be it arguing with people online, which a lot of people do, making podcasts talking about relationship shit that you that comes from a place of trauma and childhood trauma, not feeding into things that are feeding into you. And that's just something that I've learned, and I'm so glad and so proud of all of the people that, even if they're slowly learning it, there's so many people that are just like, I'm so sick and fucking tired of the same old conversation and this same shit. I'm so sick and tired of falling back into old shit. I'm so sick and tired of falling into plain. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's when shit starts to change. I can't remember what movie that was from. Please, somebody let me know. I'll figure it out. Um, hmm. I ate my lunch. Well, one, I didn't really eat anything when I woke up. I had a scoop of a scoop of peanut butter because I went out to go feed the animals. Um, and then I felt my energy drop. But my lesson, or what I've learned, especially acknowledging today, the moon, like I said, is in Cancer, is to be like water. I won't always be easy, but it's to be like water. I have a few water placements in my chart. I'm a little bit more earth than water in traditional astrology, but I'm a lot of water and a lot of fire in sidereal. So it's like I get hyped and then I calm myself down. I get emotional and then I fire myself up. It's a constant like back and forth between the emotions and the elements and stuff. It can feel a little bit bipolar at times, but the more I acknowledge it, the easier it's just like, oh, nope, I feel it. I just need to be like water sometimes. And other times when I feel that passion, I need to feel it and direct it in a way that's going to either create art, that's going to do some good, that's going to, make me feel good without causing any harm to myself or anyone else. And it usually works out that way, but be like water. I think I tweeted it on my old page when I said 2 movies that came out between last year and this year before the age of quote unquote Aquarius or Pisces, depending on what chart you're looking at. The Way of Water for Avatar and fucking Black Panther. 2 movies dealing with people of color or based around people of color dealing with water. When I realized that, I was just like, wait a minute, because I didn't fully realize that that's what Black Panther was going to be about until I actually saw it, because I've been kind of spending time offline. I haven't been bothering with that shit lately. Well, I'm more so am now, but during that time when it first came out, the second one. And realizing that, I'm like, that's the thing. Some people can feel the fire and use that in the best way. And some people need to stop trying to push and control things and control away and react before thinking. This is one of my longest 34 minutes. Okay, because they need to get out. But some people need to sit back. Some of us need to reflect. Some of us need to feel. I also noticed that my friend is very much addicted to Twitter. They're very much addicted to that drama, that rush, that energy. I was the same way. Arguing with people, going back and forth, seeing shit that pissed me off and reacting without a second thought. And that never made me feel good long term. That never made me feel like, it never ignited a good spark. And so I told them, like, they sent me something, going back and forth with somebody, they're off this week. And they sent me something, going back and forth yet again. I'm like, I think you need to deactivate. I said, child, you banned from Twitter for the rest of the week. I said, I think you need to think about deactivating your Twitter altogether and deleting it. Especially right now, because you are not in a good headspace. That energy and attention that you are going and chasing after, you need to put it in, pour it into you. You need to love on yourself. You need to write in your drink. However you get it out, you need to get it out. And this is not a good way to get it out. And I say that mostly not solely because of you, but sometimes, and I always used to hate this, but sometimes the attention that we bring towards ourselves, like these girls that was on Twitter, I don't know the drama, I don't really know the backstory, but they got doxxed and they were caught on camera bullying some girl or whatever, mutual be, whatever the fuck it was, I don't give a fuck. And people found out their names, they found out where they worked, and now they're being investigated for shit. But sometimes the things that we do, we don't always, or the way that we respond, we don't always have control over how that attention is going to return to us. And people are getting way more testy than what they have been. People are getting way more angsty. They have no way to take out their frustrations after the pandemic. People have no outlets. They don't know, or they refuse to know. They want to blame everybody else for everything that's going on in their life when they could literally just log off and go for a walk. For the ones that can't, they could literally log off, step outside, or my dumb ass almost said roll outside. Depending on what your situation is, they could, open up a window and take a deep breath and look up at the sky or something. But it's hard to get out of that deep, dark recess of your mind sometimes. So people are going to lash out on people on Twitter and social media and TikTok and stuff like that, which is why now Twitter is a cesspool of incel and bullying and oh, I'm a victim, so now I'm going to be a bully ass energy, which is another reason why I'm leaving it all together, honestly. But I was like, you need to think about deleting. And usually I'll be like, oh, I'll tee a little bit when they send me stuff. But I'm just like, you are 30. You are no longer 19 years old or in your early 20s. It's getting sad. Because now I feel bad for you. And I already felt bad for you, but in a caring way. Like, please, go rest. I love you, this, that, and the third. But you've been off one day and you immediately ran to where the drama was because you're feeling all of this stuff and don't know what to do with it. Go touch grass. I've never told one of the people that I love would know. I usually tell motherfuckers on the internet that, but go touch grass. Go get that energy out. Go for a walk. Go dance. Go do something that's going to bring you that's going to release that energy and give you that high, but it's going to bring you some type of positive reaction over a negative reaction, because just because you have a right to respond a certain way doesn't mean that people are sane enough to be able to accept that. And we are now in a time where we unfortunately have to hold ourselves accountable for some of the things that we do and how we respond to some things, because motherfuckers are crazy. If they were shooting people over a fucking chicken sandwich back a few years ago. I knew, like I had seen like little tiny shit before, but once I saw how many people was getting stabbed and shit, and literally people in my area at the time was getting stabbed and shit over a fucking chicken sandwich and chicken nuggets and shit being sold out. It's not about that. It's never been about that. It has nothing to do with that. That's the way that people are taking out their frustrations because they're tired, they're sick, be it mentally or physically. They are lacking love, they are lacking good attention, they are overworked, they aren't well nurtured, they have a chemical imbalance. And this is coming from someone who is the daughter of a schizophrenic. They are not, they don't have a good community, a circle around them with support. They may be a nutritionally imbalanced. I can't think of the correct terminology, so when I channel, I say everything. But it has nothing to do with what they are arguing or shooting over or killing over. It has everything to do with the lack of love that is circulating. So in knowing that, it's said that in ancient times people wouldn't even go outside during eclipses because the energy is so all over the fucking place, and we got like maybe what, 3, 4, however many eclipses we're in eclipse season. So this is a time when you need to pick your battles wisely, and two decide, do I need to go to this place? Should I go out? Should I come back in? Make sure if you religious, say, or you work with magic, say your prayers and make sure you have your protection and stuff like that, be it your peace or your stabby, just to be on the safe side. Make sure you are protected, because we don't live by ourselves. And because of all the shit, because everything is falling down, London Bridge is falling down, because all the shit that's happening in the way that people don't have a healthy outlet, and people are tense and don't really want love. They want anger. They want to react in anger, and they're not getting that energy out or don't feel like they can. We have to think ahead of people. Like I told them, same person, I told them that I was so proud of them because before they would get into really bad road rage with people. But it was a guy, for some reason, men always like to test them when they're driving. Either they'll ride up on their ass or they try to race them and shit. And they're like, no, nigga. Okay, wind. Hey, trees. Oh, okay, you want me to keep walking? All right. But, yeah, they always test them. And they used to argue, what the fuck are you doing? Now, they're at the point now where they'll either slow down, they'll get over in a lane, even if they mix their can't talk. Even if they miss their exit, they'll get out of the way of this crazy person, because it's like, I'm not going to let you. I am not going to allow you. That's taking accountability, because people can feed into it. I'm not going to allow you to put me in danger. That's when you take your power back. Even I had to realize that. I'm not going to allow you to do this to me. So I'm going to pull away. I'm not worried about looking like a bitch to a certain degree. So I'm going to be like, you know what? Let's calm down for a second. Let's, move over to the side and see. Sometimes you can't even do that. So sometimes you have to take yourself out of the equation and call for help from afar. Because some people react to kindness with more anger because they're not used to it, and it's not the reaction that they want. So they would even go off exits that they didn't have to go off on and go all the way around so that they can avoid this one person. That's taking control of your situation. That's taking back your power. And that's not feeding into the bullshit of a miserable ass, pathetic ass bitch who would have probably couldn't get no control in their own life and don't know what the fuck to do with it. So now they're trying to make you angry enough to cuss them out or drive them off the road or get into an accident because they want their insurance money. Because that's a lot of that shit going on too. So it's smarter to figure out I can't control everything, but what can I do? And I honestly think that's the lesson for a lot of us. We can't control everything, but what can I do from where I am? This is what I want to do, but I might not be able to do that right now. What can I do right now? I ate and I started to feel heavy, like my blood sugar spiked because I ate all my food in one go. And it was just chickpeas and spinach and red peppers. But I started to feel really heavy. And when I do that, I have to walk. So I've been walking back and forth and, walking up a hill to get my body going. I'm like, I could let myself have the itis and let my blood sugar spike and have all the negative reactions to what happens with that. Or my legs don't hurt and they work. I can go for a walk. And I got a good old recording out of it. Got out that extra energy. And I helped my food digest. Because I made that one decision to come outside and go for a walk. 45 minutes. So I'm proud of them for making a decision. And I'm proud of anyone for making a decision to want more. Accept that they're not happy. State that. And figure out what makes them happy. What made you happy as a child? I used to love the color and play dress up. So I'm a cosplayer now. And I got back into makeup. I used to love music, so I'm picking up instruments. I love being in the water, but I never learned how to swim, so I'm learning how to swim. Because that feeds us. And when we are full, maybe I'm so full. When we are full with good things, it helps. I'm not gonna pause. It's a helicopter. They've been flying over a lot today. They usually don't. Oh no, it's an airplane. It's a tiny ass airplane. I forgot I live out in the country. But when we're full of the good stuff, like eating vegetables or fruits and all the other good stuff, we don't necessarily chase after the bad stuff. We may indulge in it a little bit, but we don't do it to a point of where it spoils our appetite for the good stuff. I think I said that on Twitter before deleting it. I was like, if I go out front and it's raining hellfire, I'm not gonna stand on the front porch. If I go out back and there's bunnies hopping around and birds tweeting in the air and the trees are going around, I'm gonna go sit out on the back porch. I'm gonna chase the good. I'm not gonna chase the bad. We get in the habit of doing that, but it don't make us feel good. It can be addicting. It really can. So no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna chase things that make me genuinely feel good, that don't deplete me after they're done. I feel satisfied. There's people, things, places, media, music, food. I'm no longer indulging in the food that makes me feel bad, but if I do, like I had a burger last week, I'm gonna go for a walk to kind of help my body digest it, because I wanted that burger. But I know if I sit down and just sit in it, it's gonna make me feel bad. It will, health wise. I'm gonna go for a walk, and I walked, and I came back, and I no longer had the itis because I took it and did something else with that energy, or did something else with it, so it didn't drain me. Of course, different health issues that might not work at all. So it depends. It varies person to person. But the more you start chasing the good, I feel like the more you really want to feel that. And hopefully it gets to a point where, going backwards, we're going back to our raw bearings. So, if we can't chase the technology that makes us feel good, we're going to end up drawing on walls again. We're going to end up doing shadow puppets and shit and going back to tribal dances, which we actually are, and doing those type of things that make us feel good. Because that's all we ever really needed to begin with. Anything else without that balance, it had negative reactions without thinking about it or without actually considering it or being like water and going with the flow, trying to force things to happen is never a good, it never has a good turnout. Never. I've never seen anything that was forced to happen have a good reaction. I'll wait. No, I won't because it doesn't happen. Be like water. Water, the moon is love. It's warmth. Sometimes it can be dangerous, but it can also it flows. It never stops flowing. So even in moments of like time and sometimes you do have to react, but if you have those practices in place, sometimes you react from a better headspace or a better, you know, like if somebody's trained in doing something, they keep training themselves to do things, their first reaction isn't going to fight flight. Sometimes it'll be whatever they were trained for. Some, is a higher chance of it being that versus something that's going to put them and their people in danger. You know, so I'm walking back down the hill. I'm gonna walk. I still feel kind of full, but I'm gonna walk, and I think I'm done. Be like water. Is there anything else I had to say? No, I think that's it. I did. I was. This was inspired by seeing a post that my friend sent me, and I was really just like, at that point, I didn't tee or anything like that. I was really like, okay, like I was done at that point. I was just like, nah, I'm not condoning this. You feed into some bullshit, and I love you, and I've known you long enough. Cut the bullshit out. Cut it out, cause it's not doing you. You were just in the fucking hospital. Like that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to react just like that. How the fiery, because I've been told that one time I reacted to something, and the person was like, whoa. I was like, what? It was like I ain't expect you to sound so niggerish because I'm so I choose to be calm and peaceful because I know that fiery energy is to be like, nah, fuck that shit. Like, but I really I said it out loud. I was like, no, cut out the bullshit because you know you hurting right now and you not fit. This is feeding you the wrong shit. So what you need to do is just delete the shit. Like that's really what I wanted to say. I wanted to react just like that, but I was like, look, I think you should consider deactivating your Twitter for the rest of the week because this is not right now. This is not the time for this. This isn't doing you any good. Go take some time for yourself because you deserve that. But I really wanted to be like, what the fuck are you doing? My first reaction is how I initially feel, and my second reaction is how I've trained myself to react. Which is why sometimes when I hear things, which is why I can't be on a live show, or if I am, it's going to be a lot of quiet space. And a lot of people aren't okay with quiet space because I need to think first. It's going to be a long show. I need at least an hour, as we can see. I need at least an hour, if not, at least an hour. Um, Drink of water. Uh, I need at least an hour because I'm gonna need to pause and think. Now, if you want my honest opinion and my genuine reaction, which a lot of people don't, well, maybe my first reaction would be good for TV. But I need to think if I'm going to be more helpful than blunt and honest. Because blunt me can be an asshole. And I have worked very hard to not react with people from that first reaction unless they deserve it. Unless they fucking deserve it. But if they don't, and I want to be more tender and I want to be more loving, then I have to sit back and think, what is the best way to respond to this? Because me saying, what the fuck are you doing? If you don't put that shit down, why the fuck would you do that shit? How did that make you feel? Like a dumbass, right? And why the fuck did you do? I don't know. And I've been called fake because somebody saw that. Oh, you only act big and boss when you feel. No, me being in choosing peace and choosing love is me operating from a space of something that I know is going to help more than me calling you a dumbass motherfucker. Like, because I can. Now, if you want me to do that, I definitely can. It comes naturally. But it's not always helpful. Oh, I was just too through. I'm like, I no, I can't kiki with you off that. I can't say, oh, I can't feed into that bullshit because you've called me in the past crying because you weren't happy. I'm not gonna celebrate or acknowledge something that I know is causing you harm. If I know you alcoholic, I'm not gonna go and buy you alcohol. If I know you don't have that under control, or some type of control, if you don't know where your limit is, if you smoke cigarettes to no end, that could be your thing in your way of or even weed, that could be your thing in your way of processing shit. I'm not buying it for you. Well, the cigarettes. You're gonna have to figure out another outlet or get it from somebody else. I'm not gonna feed into it for you. Because usually people, of course, depending on where they're coming from and their traumas, they reach for the things that do them the most harm first because it's easier. It's an easier outlet and it gives them a quick satisfaction. Whereas other things may take a little longer to feel that. Speaking from someone who is an addict in terms of food, something sweet make me feel good. Sometimes me eating fruits and vegetables when I first started doing it again and just eating mostly fruits and vegetables, it took a little while because I had to filter through all of the all of the unhealthy shit that I was eating. But once it started to, I'm like, I feel the energy. Like now, I feel like I got a spring in my step. When I first came out here, it was heavy. I was kind of like, ooh, is this chamomile? Do we have chamomile growing out here? See, attention span. That means it's time for me to go. I think this is chamomile. I've never seen. Did it self root? We've been here 4 years, and I've never seen this. Yep, I'm going because if this is chamomile, I got me some tea. So be like water, love on yourself, figure out what it is that you need to feel loved, figure out what it is that you need to show yourself to feel genuinely loved. Like, even if it may take a little while, the longer lasting love, not just a quick satisfaction. And go out and do something that makes you happy. And as my mother always says, I think I'm going to end my rants with this. Repeat after me. Something good is going to happen to me today. And so it is. Ashe. And I'll talk to y'all in the next one.